Let's jump right into this explainer by addressing a habit, well, pretty much everyone in software development has. You grab some code from Stack Overflow, drop it into your project, and just kind of pray it works without a second thought. I mean, it's incredibly easy to do, right? Software touches literally everything we do today, and a massive chunk of it runs on code that anyone can see or tweak. But what are the actual rules governing that code? Today, we're unpacking the complete legal guide to open source software licenses.
Because before you copy-paste that next block of code, you really need to understand the invisible shield that governs it. See, there's this huge misconception that just because code is published out in the open, it's completely free to use however you want. Honestly, that's just false. Without a license, code technically stays under full copyright protection. Nobody has the legal right to copy or modify it. But the exact moment a developer attaches an open source license, they formally grant you permission. That document, that's your legal safety net.
So to keep you legally safe, our roadmap today is simple. We'll cover the open source shield, the license spectrum, some heavyweight examples, best practices for compliance, and finish up with the future of open licensing. Let's get into it.
Starting with Section 1, the open source shield and the foundational rules.
Think of proprietary software like a locked house. The code is completely hidden behind closed doors. You, as a user, only get the compiled software, and you have to agree to incredibly strict limits on what you can do with it, usually after paying a hefty fee. Open source software, on the other hand, is like an open house. The doors are wide open, everyone's collaborating, and the source code is entirely public. But, and this is a big but, an open house still has house rules you absolutely must follow if you want to hang around.
Understanding these house rules is basically the whole game. Every open source license sets boundaries around three core things: using the code, modifying the code, and sharing the code, whether that's the original version or your fancy new modified one. Plus, these agreements almost always include a disclaimer of warranty. That's super important because it protects the original author from liability if everything blows up when you use their code. Basically, these agreements give you the legal green light to build on someone else's work without constantly looking over your shoulder for a lawsuit. And this scenario right here brilliantly illustrates why all of this actually matters. If you ignore these terms, you might run into what the industry calls the copyleft nightmare. Just imagine a company ships a super profitable commercial product, only to realize later that a developer grabbed a tiny snippet of code carrying a strict copyleft agreement. Legally, that company might now be forced to release their own proprietary, highly secretive code to the public for free. So yeah, ignoring these rules can literally expose a company's most valuable IP.
Which brings us to Section 2. The license spectrum and its main categories.
Now that we know the stakes, let's look at the different flavors, starting with the permissive license. This is exactly what it sounds like. It grants you maximum freedom with minimal obligations. You can copy, modify, and distribute the software with barely any strings attached. Startups and big businesses absolutely love permissive licenses because they can build commercial, closed-source products on top of open code without ever having to reveal their own secret sauce. When you need to build fast using proven code, this is your go-to.
On the total opposite end of the spectrum, we have the strong copyleft license. This one requires that any derivative work, so any modified version you create, has to carry the exact same license terms as the original software. It's a rule designed to build really tightly knit, collaborative communities. It ensures that all future improvements to the software remain open and accessible to everyone, forever. Basically, nobody gets to lock improvements behind a closed door.
And sitting comfortably right in the middle, we have the weak copyleft license. This is a very pragmatic, balanced approach. It requires that any changes you make to the specifically licensed code itself have to remain open source, but you're totally allowed to combine that code with your own proprietary software without forcing your whole giant product to become open source. It's perfect for developers who want to protect the original project, but without demanding full open source obligations from every single thing it touches.
Moving on to Section 3, heavyweight examples, or the licenses you'll actually see out in the wild.
Let's map those categories to the big players. The MIT license is the absolute simplest, most widely used permissive agreement out there. It basically just asks you to keep the copyright notice attached. Easy. Apache 2.0 is also permissive, but it adds an explicit patent license from contributors, giving companies a fantastic layer of legal safety against patent trolls. On the strong copyleft side, you've got the GPL, which enforces strict software freedom and has literally shaped the free software movement since the 80s. And finally, the MPL, or Mozilla Public License, is your classic weak copyleft. It protects software at the individual file level, making it super easy to mix in with proprietary enterprise code. We've also got the BST license, which is another huge permissive favorite.
What really makes BSD unique is its legal clarity around author endorsement. It comes in a few variants, like the 2-clause and 3-clause versions, which specifically spell out whether you're allowed to use the original author's name to promote your new product. It's a massive favorite if you want simplicity, but with really clear legal boundaries.
All right, Section 4, Compliance Practices and How to Avoid Legal Liabilities. So, how do we take all this legal theory and actually apply it safely to your daily workflow? Well, here is your actionable roadmap to avoid a total disaster. Step 1. Maintain a software bill of materials, or SBOM. Think of it as a master recipe list of every single open source component in your project and its license. Step 2. Use automated software composition analysis, or SCA tools. Seriously, do not try to track this stuff by hand. These tools integrate right into your pipeline and catch conflicts the second a developer tries out a problematic dependency. Makes things like funding rounds or acquisitions way less painful. And Step 3, train your developers. Teach them these basics so they don't blindly pull in the wrong libraries.
And as part of that training, you absolutely must warn them about these common mistakes. The most dangerous assumption by far is thinking that if code doesn't have a license file attached, it's just completely free to reuse. Actually, scratch that, it's the exact opposite. That code is still fully copyrighted. Another massive pitfall is mixing incompatible agreements. If you try to merge GPL code with proprietary components, bam, you've just triggered that copyleft nightmare we talked about. And finally, if you forget to keep your attribution updated as new contributors join, you're going to end up with a legally ambiguous, very messy codebase.
Finally, Section 5, Future Open Licenses and Evolving Legal Models.
Modern tech and shifting business models are really forcing traditional legal frameworks to evolve. Right now, we are seeing a massive shift toward new emerging license structures. First, we have source available agreements. These still let the public see the code, but they strictly restrict certain commercial uses. Then there's dual licensing, where a product is totally free for non-commercial use, but requires a paid license if you're going to use it at an enterprise level. And why is this happening? Basically, creators are trying to stop large cloud providers from taking their hard-won open-source work, packaging it up as a commercial service, and profiting massively without giving a single thing back to the community.
Look, if there is one single thing you take away from this explainer today, let it be this. Free does not mean no obligations. Even if an open source license removes the need to pay money, it almost never removes your responsibilities. Things like attribution, source disclosure, and patent terms pretty much always apply. You have to treat licensing as a core part of your workflow, not just an afterthought. It's really the only way to protect your business.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative question. As artificial intelligence models train on vast, truly unimaginable amounts of open source code, how will these existing frameworks adapt to entirely new questions of attribution, derivative works, and fair use? The legal frontiers of AI are disrupting software development as we know it, and the licensing models of tomorrow, well, they're being stress tested right now. It's a totally fascinating space to watch. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.